So we have looked that if I have a conductor carrying current in a magnetic field, it experiences some force, and due to this force, this conductor moves. There is some displacement in the conductor. Now the motion or the direction in which this conductor will move, it depends on two factors. It depends on the direction of electric current, and also it depends on the direction of magnetic field. So to make things simpler, it is difficult for us to predict the direction of motion if we do not have some idea. So to make things simpler, I am using this Fleming's left hand rule. So for Fleming's left hand rule, what I do, I use my left hand. And what this Fleming's left hand rule says, it says that if the forefinger is it's pointing in the direction of magnetic field, and if the current is pointing in the direction of electric current, then the thumb will point the direction of motion of the conductor. So basically, provided all these things, like all these three fingers has to be mutually perpendicular. So what I do, I take my left hand, I align the fingers in such a way that they are mutually perpendicular to it. Then I can say that if the forefinger is representing magnetic field, then the middle finger is representing the electric or the direction of electric current, then the thumb will represent the motion or the direction of motion of the conductor. So let us take an example. Suppose I have the north pole this side towards my right hand side and the south pole towards the left hand side. Now we know that the direction of magnetic field is from from the north pole to the south pole. So the direction will be from the right hand side to the left hand side. And I am assuming my current to be flowing towards the front side. So I have to, in order to predict the motion or the direction of motion of the conductor, I have to use Fleming's left hand rule. So what it says that the forefinger should point in the direction of magnetic field. The magnetic field is pointing in the left direction, so my forefinger should point in this direction. And as I told you, the amount of the current is moving in the front direction, so I have to point my middle finger in this direction. Now when I do this, this thumb will give the direction of the moving conductor. Now what if I change the direction of current? What if I change the direction of current? When I do so, I have to change this, because what I am doing now, instead of moving in front, it is moving behind. The current is moving behind. So I have to change the direction of current. So basically it will be something like this. Current is moving backwards. The direction of magnetic field remains same. So now, as we can see in here, the conductor will move downwards. Again a question arises, what if we change the direction of magnetic field? That means I am reversing the pole, I am changing the polarity. In this case, I will have north pole here, south pole here. So basically the direction of magnetic field is in this direction. So in this case, I have to align my left hand in such a way. So my magnetic field is in this direction, current is moving backwards, so my conductor will move up. If my current is moving in front, I have something like this. Current is moving front, the direction of magnetic field is in this direction, so the conductor will move down. So this is my Fleming's left hand rule. This rule is important for us to predicting predicting the direction of motion of conductor in many cases, in certain situations. We'll look at that later on. Okay, we have magnetism in medicine. So in our day-to-day lives, in our bodies, there are various phenomena, there are various things occurring, biological things occurring, which produces magnetism. Now one of that is this. When I press the nerve cell, the sodium and the potassium ion, they interchanges energy, and in doing so, they produce a small amount of electrical energy. Now this energy is known as ion energy. The electrical energy produced by this is very weak, and this electrical energy, it moves through the nerve cell, and in doing so, it produces certain magnetic field. Now again, the strength of the magnetic field produced is very, very small, and it is insignificant, and we do not feel the effect of these magnetic fields. Now there are certain organs which produces electric fields which are significant, like our brain and heart produces significant amount of electrical energy, and also the magnetic field produced by them is significant. Now the magnetic field produced by the organs form the basis of this this technology which is known as your MRI, which is magnetic resonance imaging. Magnetic resonance imaging. Now this device, it is used by the brain and heart surgeons to get a clear or a deep view of these organs. So this is how magnetism, it helps in medicine. Okay, now we'll look at an important electrical device which use certain properties or which use certain properties of magnetic effect of current. So this is my electric motor. So what is an electric motor? It is a device which converts electrical energy into mechanical energy. Like suppose for example, I have a fan. Now this, when I supply a source of current to it, when I supply some amount of current to it, the fan rotates. Now this electrical energy in here is being converted to mechanical energy. And how it is being done? It is being done with the help of an electric motor. So basically, an electric motor is a device which converts electrical energy into mechanical energy. Now the electric energy, it works on this principle. Now earlier we looked, like when I have a current carrying conductor in a magnetic field, that conductor experiences some force due to which it moves. There is some motion in the conductor. Now the principle in here, it says when current flowing through a coil with many turns is placed in a magnetic field, then it will experience a torque. So I have a current flowing through a coil with many turns, and this coil, what I am doing, I am placing in some magnetic field. Now when I do so, this coil will experience some torque. Now what is a torque? A torque, like it is something like this. I am applying some force in this direction, and I am applying some force in this direction. The amount of forces applied, they are equal and they are opposite in nature. So I am applying a force in this direction and I am applying a force in this direction, due to which this body will rotate. It will rotate about a fixed axis. Now a common example that we use in our day-to-day lives is like opening the water tap. In this case, what I am doing, I am applying two equal forces but in opposite direction. I am applying a force in this direction, again I am applying another force in this direction, due to which the water tap moves. So this is my torque. Now the electric motor, it is based on this principle. Now what is the construction, or what does electric motor consist of? It consists of a core. Now core, it is usually soft iron core, so I have a core in here. Now again it will consist of a coil. Now this coil, usually it is a coil made up of many turns of copper wire, but for simplicity's sake I have taken a coil with a single turn, and this coil I am naming this to be A, B, C, D in here. Then I have split rings. I have two rings. Now look at this, like this diagram. The end of the coil is fixed with the slip rings. I have one end of the coil which is fixed with this slip ring, and then the other end which is fixed with this slip ring. So basically keep this in mind that the ends of the coils, they are fixed with the slip rings. Then I have brushes. So I have two brushes which are usually made up of carbon. Now what is the function of this brush? The function of this brush is to provide a continuous supply of electric current. Now this brush, it is not fixed with the slip ring. That means the slip ring can move out of the brushes. Then I have concave cylindrical magnet. So in here I have a concave cylindrical magnet. So what is the function of this magnet? It is to provide magnetic field. In this particular case, the direction of magnetic field is in this direction. Always remember, from north to south, that is the direction of magnetic field. And then I have some source of electric energy in here. So in this case I am using battery. So this is the construction of an electric motor. Okay, so we have looked at the construction of an electric motor. So now we'll be looking how does it works. Now I have this construction. I'm just like bringing this in here. So I have a coil A, B, C, D. I have this I have the north pole of a magnet and the south pole of a magnet, and I have some source of current. Now due to this source of current, I have placed the source of current in such a way that the direction of current is in this direction. Okay. Now again you notice one thing in here, it is something like this. I have my north pole If you look in this diagram, I have my north pole in here and I have my south pole in here. And suppose this is the coil. So according to diagram, this will be my A, this will be B, this will be C and D. So keep this in mind. This is my north pole, this is my south pole, and this is the coil. And I am connecting this with some circuit. Now how is this connection done? So that electric current will flow in this direction. So electric current in this case, as I told you, this is A, B, C, D. So electric current is flowing in this direction. It is flowing in this direction. So when, as we know, since electric current is flowing in this circuit and I have this in a magnetic field, it should experience some torque. Okay, how is this being done? So in the first case, this is my first case, exactly what I have told you. You notice one thing in here, the north pole and south pole is in here, so the direction of magnetic field will be in this direction, and as I told you, the direction of current is in this direction. Is it okay? The direction of current is in this direction. So basically current is flowing through the circuit in this way. Current is coming from this end, it comes here, then it moves this side. So I have two parts of the coil. I have this part and I have this part. In this part the current is moving in this direction, and in this part the current is moving in the other direction. So let's look at this like one by one. So for the first one, I have the direction of magnetic field to be in this direction. I have the direction of current to be in this direction. So in my case, the magnetic field is in this direction, and the current is moving towards you. Keep this in mind. The current is moving towards you. So what will I have? The magnetic field is in this direction. So I am using Fleming's left hand rule. So the magnetic field is in this direction. The direction of current is towards you, so it is moving in this direction. So what will be the motion of the conductor now by Fleming's left hand rule? It will move upwards. So basically this part of the coil will move upwards. Okay. Now let's look at the second part. Let's look at this BC part. What is happening in here? The direction of magnetic field is same. It is moving from the north side to the south side. But in this case, it seems that the current is coming towards me. The current is coming towards me. So what will happen? Again, I am using Fleming's left hand rule. The direction of current is same. The direction of magnetic field is same. But the current, it has changed its direction. So it is moving, as I told you, towards me. So in this direction, what is the direction of motion of the conductor? It is moving downwards. So you notice one thing in here. This part is trying to move up. This part is trying to move down. So basically, if this is my coil, this part is trying to move up, but this part is trying to move down. So it will rotate. It will rotate. And when it rotates, as I told you in the construction, my slip rings is fixed to the coil. So as the coil rotates, this split ring also rotates. Okay? The other things remains fixed. So this is my first part. This is happening in the first case. My AB is trying to move up. My ED is trying to move up, and BC is trying to move down. And again, the split ring S1 is trying to move up, and the split ring S2 is moving down. So what happens in the second case? So basically, this coil, it has rotated in this direction. So what I have in here now, now this part will be AD and this part it will be BC. Basically it has changed its position. Now again, let us look. Because of the construction, it was constructed in such a way, the direction of current will not change. The direction of current will not change, only the direction of, or the position of this coil has changed. Now in this case, in this particular case, what is happening? My BC is the part this side and AD is the part this side. So again, magnetic field is along this direction. The amount of current coming, or the current is coming towards me for BC. So if you look in here again, if I use Fleming's left hand rule, for this part BC, the direction of magnetic field is in this direction. The current is moving towards you, so the motion will be upward motion. And again, the same thing for AD. The direction of current has changed. It is moving towards me. The direction of the magnetic field is in this direction, so the conductor will try to move down. So what happens, again from this position it will again rotate in the same way, because this is trying to move up, this is trying to move down. It will rotate in the same way and come back to its initial position. This is done it is done for a large number of turns, and ultimately I get like this electrical energy which I am using, it is being converted to some mechanical energy in the form of this movement. Okay, so this is how an electric motor works. Okay, so we have done the construction, the principle and the working of electric motor. Now we have seen how an electric motor works. But sometimes we need to increase or decrease the power of the electric motor. So how do we do so? So the first way of doing so is by increasing the number of turns. When I increase the number of turns, the power of the electric motor will increase. By increasing the area of cross section of the coil used, when I increase the area of cross section of the coil used, I can increase the power of the electric motor. Then by increasing the strength of magnetic field, I am using a particular magnet. Now if I replace this magnet with another magnet which has more magnetic, or the strength is more, the magnetic field is more, the power of the electric motor will increase. Also I can do this by increasing the amount of current flowing through the coil, or by laminating the soft iron core. I am using a soft iron core. When I laminate it, the power of the electric motor will increase. So with this we have seen how a conductor behaves when it comes in a magnetic field. Then we have seen the Fleming's left hand rule. We have seen how magnetism is used in medicines. We have seen the principle, construction and working of electric motor. So in the next class we will be discussing about electric motor induction, magnetic induction, and we'll look at the working, construction and principle of the electric generator. After that we'll go to domestic circuits. Okay, so in the earlier class we have learned about electric motors, and before that we look at various phenomena with various effects. We looked at how a conductor behaves when it is like electric carrying conductor behaves when I place it in a magnetic field. Then how does what are the forces felt by it, what happens to the conductor because of this force. We have seen those. Now in here we'll be looking what will happen if I take a simple conductor and then place it in a magnet, like in a magnetic field, and then try to move the conductor. In here I have to keep in mind that there is no external forces, there is no external current being supplied to the conductor. Okay, now before going into this, first we need to understand what a galvanometer is. Now galvanometer is a device which is used to detect the flow of current. An ammeter, it is a device which is used to measure the amount of current flowing through a device. But what is a galvanometer? Galvanometer, it is used to just detect the amount of current flowing through a circuit and also the direction of current. So to understand what happens to a conductor when it is placed in a magnetic field and moved, we'll look at this experiment. So in this experimental setup, I have two magnets such that the north face and the south face, they are facing each other, and then I have a circuit. In this circuit, I have connecting wires connected to a galvanometer. This circuit I bring in such a way that it is pushed in between the two magnets. Now for this experiment, I have to move the circuits first in the downward direction, we'll see what happens, and then in the upward direction we'll see what happens. So in the first case, I am moving the circuit in the downward direction. Now as I told you, what is a galvanometer? It is a device which is used to detect electric current. So if electric current will flow in this circuit, there will be some deflection shown by the galvanometer. So what happens, if initially the position of the galvanometer is in this direction, when I move downwards the position of the galvanometer, the needle will change its direction. Maybe it will come in this direction. So what I am doing in here, I am moving the conductor of the circuit down, and when I do so, the meter in the galvanometer has deflected. Now this what does this indicate, or why is it necessary? This indicates that there is certain amount of current which is flowing in this conductor. So suppose the direction of current is this. Now again let us reverse the process. In this case what I am doing, I am moving the circuit in the upward direction. Now what happens when I do so? Again this galvanometer will deflect, but in this case it will deflect in the opposite direction, indicating that the current flowing now is in the opposite direction. It is flowing in the opposite direction. So this is the experiment which tells us that if I have a circuit or a conductor in a magnetic field, and then when I move the conductor, there is some current induced in this conductor. Now let's look at the confusion which I can draw in here. So the first, when a conductor is moved in the magnetic field, a potential difference is induced in the circuit due to which a current is induced in it. Now the induced current flows in the conductor as long as the conductor is moving. Now as long as I move the conductor, the galvanometer will show some deflection. But when I stop the movement, the galvanometer will come back to its initial position and it will not show any deflection. This indicates that there is a flow of current only when the device or the circuit or the conductor is moving. When it is at rest, there is no flow of electric current. Now the third point, it says the direction of motion of current is determined by the direction of motion of the conductor. So basically, as you can see in here, when I moved the circuit in the downward direction, the flow of current was in this direction. The electric current or the induced electric current flew in this direction. But when I move in the upward, when I move the circuit in the upward direction, the direction of electric current was in this direction. So as you can see, when I change the direction of motion of the conductor, the direction of current also changes. The fourth point, it says that current induced in a conductor is transitional and alternating in nature. Now this current which is being induced in here, first of all it is temporary. It lasts for a very short amount of time, and also it is alternating in nature. That means it changes in direction after equal interval of time. So these are the properties of current which is induced in here. Now what is induced? What do you understand by induced current? The current which is induced in a conductor due to the movement of the conductor in a magnetic field, that current is your induced current. And what is electromagnetic induction? Electromagnetic induction, it is the process or it is the phenomena due to which a current is induced in here. Okay. So we have discussed about electromagnetism and how conductor, when it is moved in a magnetic field, how electric current is generated in it. We have seen to this. Now we'll discuss about AC generator. Now before going to AC generator, let us first understand what alternating current is, or AC is. Now till now, whatever we have done, whenever I've talked about electric current, I'm always referring to my DC current, the direct current. That is the direction of current. It remains fixed throughout the process. But in our day-to-day lives, the electric current that we see in our houses, these are not direct current, but these are alternating current. So what is an alternating current? Alternating current is that current which changes its direction after equal interval of time. Okay, so it is a current which changes its directions after equal interval of time. And a device which is used to convert mechanical energy into electrical energy is known as your AC generator. Earlier we looked at electric motor. What is an electric motor? An electric motor is a device which converts electrical energy into mechanical energy. But what is an AC generator? It is the opposite. It is a device which converts mechanical energy into electrical energy. So AC generator, it is based on the phenomena of electromagnetic effect. An AC generator, it is made up of these components. I have an armature. Just like in our generator, I had a coil mounted on a soft iron core. So similar is an armature. So what is an armature? I have a soft iron core, and around the iron core I have many turns of copper wire. To make things simpler for us, again I have taken a single turn of copper wire. Now through the center of this armature there is an axle. Now this axle, to this axle I'm applying I'm supplying some external force so as to rotate this coil in here. Then I have slip rings. There are two slip rings in here. Again, the ends of the armature are connected, are fixed with this slip ring. So as the coil rotates, these slip rings also will rotate. Then I have brushes. There are two brushes in here. Now, in the earlier case, like in case of electric motor, brushes were used to provide electric current to the coil. But in this case, brushes is used to take out the current. It is used to take out the current generated in this coil. So this is the difference between an electric motor and an electric generator. And then I have two field magnets. What is the purpose of these field magnets? To produce or to provide continuous supply of magnetic field. So this is the construction of an electromagnet. Now from exam point of view, both AC motor and an electric motor and an AC generator, the concepts of these are very important. Earlier in the previous years, questions were asked from this topic. They may ask you the principle, they may ask you the construction or the working of these two devices. So keep this in mind. Okay, so now we'll be looking at the domestic electric circuits. Now we have talked about many electrical devices in the previous chapter as well as in this chapter. Now there are certain devices like your electric heaters, your electric iron, where we need to touch these devices with our bare hands. Now these devices are usually properly insulated, but if for some reason the insulation is damaged, the live wires come in contact with the metal casing of these devices, which makes this metal casing possess a very high potential. Now when we touch such a device with having a high potential, we may get electric shock, due to which electric current will flow through our body and may affect the nervous system, which may even lead to our death. Now to avoid such a situation, these devices are usually earthed. Now what do we mean by earthing? By earthing, we mean that the metallic part of a body is connected with a thick wire, and which is buried deep in the earth. And the end, which is being buried in the earth, it is surrounded by a mixture of common salt and charcoal. So again, what is earthing? It is just a safety measure to protect us from short circuiting or to protect the device from getting short circuited. Now how does this help? We know that earth can be considered as an electric sink. That means it can consume a very high number of electrons, and in doing so it will still remain, the potential will remain to be zero. So when an electric device gets short circuited, the extra amount of electrons or the extra amount of current flows through the thick wire into the earth. And since earth does not provide resistance, the amount of current in the short circuit device, it suddenly increases, due to which there is an overload in the circuit and the temperature of the circuit increases. Now we have already learned about the concept of a fuse. A fuse will break when the temperature of the circuit increases up to a certain extent. So in this case also, as the temperature of the circuit increases due to this earthing, the fuse will break and the person who is touching this appliance with their bare hand will not be short circuit or will not get this electric shock. So again we have two terms. Here we have overloading and short circuiting, and these terms we have already discussed in the previous chapter of electric current. Okay, so in our household, in our domestic lives, in our household lives, how is electric power distributed in our houses? Now basically this is done by using wires which are either underground or overhead. Now in these wires, I have three different wires are present here. I have the live wire, the neutral wire and the earthed wire. Now before directly being connected into a house or the meter box of a house, it is first the live wire coming from the external source is first fixed with a pole fuse. Now this pole fuse, it can either be present in the pole or it is in the house but before the meter box. Now what is the function of this pole fuse? Now a certain amount of current is being sanctioned to a certain house. Now what is the function of a pole fuse? If the house owner or the user it uses amount of current which is more than the sanctioned amount, the pole fuse will break. So it will avoiding the flow of current. So before the current comes into the meter box into the house, it has to pass through the pole fuse, and the pole fuse will break if the amount of current exceeds a particular amount. Then it moves into a kilowatt meter box. Then after the wire which comes out from a kilometer wire box, it has to pass through a electrical fuse, the fuse that we have discussed earlier, and then from here it is connected to a switch. So this is how power or how wires are connected in our houses. Now before coming to the switch, we have this main board. Okay, the switch is there. It is a main switch which can be used to cut off the current for the entire house. And from the switch, we have a main board fuse where it is connected. Now, in most of the houses, we use this system of power distribution. In this system of power distribution, I have a common source, and from this source, I am dividing it into different parts. I mean, I'm taking from the main source, from one source, I am dividing it into different parts so that this can be, I can take the power into different rooms for different electrical devices. So in here I have taken an example where there are 3 rooms, and in a particular room there are 2 devices. So from the main fuse I have taken a particular wire which is connected in this room, and in this room there are 2 devices. So this is how it is connected. Only the live wire is connected to the fuse, and from the fuse I have connections made for these 2 devices. Similarly, I can do connections for the devices which are present in the other room. So this is the 3 distribution of power, 3 system of power distribution. It is like from the main source I am making branches of the power lines. Now, to differentiate between the different wires, there is a specific system used. Usually, like the new system that we use, for the live wire, a red colored insulation is put into the wire. For the other wire, a green color insulation is put into it, and for the neutral wire, a black color insulation is used. So, we have come to the end of this chapter. I have tried to cover the important parts of the syllabus. There are certain things which I may have not covered. You can go through. So until then, we will meet in the next class. Thank you.